Hi, good morning. It's Ramsey Bergeron with Bergeron Wellbeing. Thanks for watching today. And today I want to talk about overthinking and overwhelm. And if you're like me, you've probably experienced both of these things. And it's something that I'm really seeing a lot with the clients I'm working with this year. Stress seems to be at an all-time high. And I know for me, 2 weeks ago, I had 3 speaking engagements within 8 days. One in Arizona, I had to fly to San Antonio, do a presentation for 187th Medical Battalion, U.S. Army. Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Riley, for bringing me down there. And then the day after that, I flew home just to change and grab a new suit and head to Albuquerque to work with Ambience Hospitality there. And sometimes whenever I have several things backed up like this, I can start to get overwhelmed in my own head and think like, oh my gosh, I've got so much to do. And how that's obviously that's not helpful. But what do we do in situations like that when we have a lot on our plate or our mind just keeps racing? Um, and while you're watching this, put in the chat, let me know where you're watching from, so I can kind of see, where everyone is. Back when I was a personal trainer, um, sometimes I would have 14 clients in a day. I would start work at 5 a.m. till 7 p.m. at night some days. And I would get up at 3:30 in the morning so I could get my workout in. And I can remember I would be sitting there training my 7 a.m. client. And I would be thinking like, oh my God, I've still got 12 or 13 hours more to go today. And I was so, I was stressed because I was going to be tired at the end of the day. I thought like, what a long day I've got ahead of me. And then it prevented me from working with the only client that I could really work with at that moment, which was the one right in front of me. Because in my head, I'm not there. In my head, I'm stressing myself out about everything else that I'm going to have to do later that I couldn't do the one thing I had the power to do, which was be here with that client in that moment. And let me know if this happens to you. Do you ever find yourself when you're getting ready for a long day, like you're only up for a couple of hours so far, but the thought of what you have to do becomes so overwhelming that you feel drained before you've even started. So you're mentally exhausted. Part of the reason this happens is, when you go to this fight or flight energy, this catabolic energy, which is just breaking down body tissue. When I talk about this, it's a concept I learned from IPEC, which is the coaching school I'm certified through. Catabolic energy is fight or flight mode, which isn't in itself a bad thing. So if I'm being chased by a bear, my body's going to release cortisol into my bloodstream to break down body tissue to help me outrun the bear. Well, that's fantastic if I'm being chased by a bear. But if it's in a situation where, oh my God, I still got 12 hours left to work today, or I still got to do all these reports and they're due by the end of the day, that doesn't really help me because it's so taxing to be in this catabolic state. You're breaking down body tissue for energy, which is essentially kind of what, stress. I know cortisol is considered to be the stress hormone. It's actually a very helpful hormone, uh, but it's when we have an excess of it in situations that don't serve us, it may not be in our best interest. So what do we do in these situations? What do we do when we have a lot of stuff going on that is overwhelming us or making us feel like we can't do anything? And sometimes when we have so much on our plate, we don't want to do anything. And this can also be a common cause of procrastination, where you think about the totality of everything you have to do, so you just shut down. You're like, you know what? I'm just going to sit here and watch TV. So let's talk about what the opposite of this looks like. And that's kind of just being in a flow state. Think about sports. The Super Bowl was on this past couple days ago. And for those of you that have played any sports, whether you're a professional player, you played in high school, you played in college, or you're a weekend pickleball player like, 99% of everyone else in America, what happens when your head's not in it? If you're worried about like either what's going on outside of the game or worried about something 4 plays later, you're not here and you're not able to do the thing that you need to do at that moment. So one of the things back to a work day, like if I had 14 hours of training in one day, or I'm having to fly and do different presentations that are customized for different clients, I want you to shift your perspective on overthinking. Okay. Think about overthinking is underacting. Overthinking is underacting. So what do I mean by that? So if I have 100 thoughts going on in my head of all the things that I need to get done, and I'm not doing anything, I'm allowing these thoughts to just pile up, or run, just run in loops. The cure for that is to take action. And that can be in a variety of different ways. So it could even be like, okay, in that moment, stop and just, even if it's writing down how you feel. Right now I'm feeling overwhelmed, and just being able to name the feelings that you're feeling in those moments when you're overwhelmed or stressed can be so helpful. And I know whenever I train people to do workshops on emotional intelligence or stress, I talk about the feelings wheel. Being able to name a feeling is very important. You can't just say, "I feel I'm stressed." Okay, well, what else is going on? I feel pressure. I feel anxiety. I feel, and where in your body do you feel it? So sometimes journaling or writing things down can be helpful. Or make a list. I know I was helping a client with this last week, where she had 100 things going on between work and kids and finances. It's like, well, okay, well, let's just stop for a second and write down, what all do you have to do? And so the sheer act of just making the list of what she had to do gave her a sense of control and peace, because then she saw it listed out. Because a lot of times when we just have these ideas in our head, they can be overwhelming because we don't have any structure to it. It's just kind of ideas floating around in your head. So just write them down. Um, Also, another way to take action when you're overthinking: exercise. For me, sometimes just going for a walk just can kind of get me out of just the stagnant energy of indecision and overwhelm. So just going for a walk for me helps a lot. Going for a walk, and maybe I'll have my phone and I'll put some notes in my phone of like, okay, what's the first thing I can do right now? And just listing it out like that. Think of your brain like a computer. All right. And so when you're overthinking, you've got a browser open with 14 different tabs open on one browser. And those are just all the different thoughts going on in your head. And your brain's like, the other programs are running just to keep the computer going, right? That's just all of your background stuff going on in your mind anyway. And the way that taking action solves that problem is you're going to focus on one browser at a time, or sorry, one tab at a time. And that's taking action. One of the things that I help people do whenever they're creating structure for themselves, whether it's in the workplace or with any kind of goals that they have in life, is being mindful. And I know that's the most overused word of the 20th century, but what does that mean? And that is to focus on one idea at a time. So once you have your list written out, once you've started to take action and say, okay, what's the one thing I can do right now? Um, I set a timer on my phone for 25 minutes. I pick one of those tasks for 25 minutes. My phone's on do not disturb. I don't check my email. That's what I'm doing for 25 minutes. And I'm not telling myself I'm going to complete that task in 25 minutes, because it may take much longer than that. But I know that if I'm giving all of my energy towards one thing, I've made progress, at least in that one area. Even if that progress means I've tried some things and it didn't work, at least I've crossed those off the list. I'm taking action towards one of the things that's causing me to feel overwhelmed. I worked with a corporate client last year who was married to their to-do list. And that's what they wanted my help with. They said, I want to break up with my to-do list, is what she told me. And she had a to-do list at work and a to-do list at home. And she was so focused on checking those boxes off that that became all consuming, and she never enjoyed her days. She also happened to be a big fan of the Lord of the Rings movies. And she was talking about one time when we were just kind of starting before one of her sessions. We were talking about, by the way, I'm changing the names of movies and things like that just to protect, my client's confidentiality. But she loved these movies and she would watch them. And I asked her when she's watching the movie, I'm like, well, did you watch the movie, or did you just fast forward to the credits and watch the credits roll? She's like, well, why would I do that? I'm like, well, just say you're done, right? Like, okay, I watched this movie, I moved on. She's like, no, I love the movie. I sit with it, I watch it, I enjoy watching the movie. And whenever you feel overwhelmed with things that you have to do, I encourage you to slow down and watch the movie. Like be with the one thing that you're doing right now, and just and be with it. Um, and by the sheer act of watching the movie, you get to you watch the end of the movie. So when there's things that you feel you have to do, focus on one at a time and enjoy the process of the doing. Shift from the outcome orientation to the process orientation. And it's funny. She really started to enjoy her day because when you're saying, okay, for 25 minutes, I'm going to focus on this, and you just give it your best effort and you're focused on it, you feel a sense of accomplishment at the end of those 25 minutes. You've gotten things done, and you can either, and then after 25 minutes, I guess to finish kind of what I do with that, I have another timer I set for 5 minutes. And for 5 minutes, I do some kind of self care, whether it's like grab a glass of water, maybe do some push ups, maybe just pet my dog, but something that this is something for me, not just scrolling mindlessly, which, sometimes I'll do that too. But then when that 5 minute timer goes off, I already know before that because I've made my list at the beginning of the day what's either the next thing I want to spend 25 minutes on or return to that first thing to really just dive in and do. And so returning to my analogy about training clients, whenever I'm thinking that, oh my gosh, I've still got 12 clients left today, it's like, all right, well, I'll deal with that 5 p.m. client when I get to 5 p.m. Right now, this is the client I'm working with. Even as I'm sitting here talking to you live, it's a matter of I'm thinking about all the other things that I quote unquote need to do today. I'm really making a great progress on my book, Cake on the Floor. And I want to get it out before I'm speaking at a conference, a 2-day conference in April. I'd love to have it done, ready to go by that date. And I was hesitant to even say that because anytime I've put other things out in the universe, it kind of destroys my energy before I can have a sense of completion for it. But I'm sharing this almost as an accountability to myself that I'm going to have this done by that date in April. And as I'm saying it, I'm realizing the irony of having that thing I want to check off my to-do list, but I'm enjoying the process of writing. Like every day I'm able to write 2,000 words and it's just flowing because I really believe in what I'm doing and I'm enjoying it. I've missed a creative outlet in my life. So another way to kind of stop this overthinking and overwhelm are find the things that bring you passion. What do you enjoy doing? What do you love doing? Because I know I've said this in other ones of these episodes that the miracles are in the mundane. Yes, these big things that we want to do, whether it's completing this deadline, or finishing this project, or finishing this race under a certain time, those are great. Crossing the finish line for an Ironman or making it around Key West, fine, fantastic. Those are great. But it's the million moments that precede that are your life, not just those big things. The miracles are in the mundane. The miracles are having that morning cup of coffee, talking with your significant other before you walk out the door. Because you're going to do that thousands of times in your life. But when you don't sit there and be with your partner when you're having that coffee, you're missing life. You're focusing on the next thing. You're focusing on that 5 p.m. client instead of being with the one that you're with now. I have been able in the last month of my life, for the first time as an adult, to really feel like I love myself. And I had a journaling call this morning with Garrett. Tuesday mornings are always a really important morning for me because there's this journaling call that my friend Garrett does, and we all just come and he has a different topic that he comes up with, and it just resonates so much with me. And today was about, with Valentine's Day being tomorrow, how do I show myself love and what do I care about myself? And been divorced now for almost 2 years, and I'm now starting to cook for myself daily and taking the joy, finding joy in chopping up the vegetables, cooking the vegetables, and just eating them. Like I'm not just, all right, salmon in the air fryer, watch TV while it's cooking, and then sit down and eat it while watching TV. Like I'm really focusing a lot more on, yeah, making, vegetable stir fry, chopping up the peppers, the squash, sauteing it, adding the spices, really tasting the flavors whenever I eat it, and slowing down to be in those moments. And man, it's brought me so much peace in my life. Um, I I don't want to say I'm no longer stressed about all the things that I have to do, but when I notice that I am, every time that I notice I'm getting overwhelmed and or overthinking, I don't shame myself for it because noticing that I'm doing it gives me the opportunity to come back to the moment. Because in the past, I would shame myself like, oh, I'm overthinking. What's wrong with me? This is not helpful. This is not productive. Um, and then that's just that's opening another tab on the browser. I'm now adding being stressed about being stressed to my stress. So noticing when you're overwhelmed, noticing when you're overthinking is the first step to just return to just now, to just be here now. And that's the chapter I'm writing in my book right now is on mindfulness. And it's so helpful for me to remember that all I can do is just be here in this moment. And I'm going to encourage you to do the same thing. So hopefully if you're watching this video, you're dedicating your energy and your attention to this video. It's not on in the background on one tab while you're doing five other things. And if it is, then close this video. I'm not going to be offended and focus on one of those things that you're doing. But if you really want to receive this message, maybe when this is done recording, start it over and just really be with it. Really listen to the message of what I'm trying to convey, because I promise you, it will bring peace to your life. Slow down. Overthinking is underacting. Take action. Even if it's just writing down your feelings, making your to-do list, going for a walk, journaling, move your body, uh, get some of that energy out. Share what you're feeling. Even if it's just saying it out loud to a mirror, take action. Thank you for watching this. Let me know. I might even make this a podcast episode. And if you're listening to the podcast, fantastic. Make sure you like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments, what was your biggest takeaway from this? And what's one daily, I don't want to say habit, because habit energy is something that I really try to dissuade people from engaging in, ritual. What's one ritual that you can create with intention to help set yourself up for success at the beginning of the day to prevent you from overthinking or feeling overwhelmed? Go ahead and let me know. Just put in the comments. Let me know what's one thing that you can commit to yourself to creating a ritual to help you set yourself up for success, to curb your overthinking, take more action, and to feel more peace in this moment. Thank you so much. I appreciate you watching this, and I'll talk with you soon.